Welcome to Blog Talk Radio. Please enter your host PIN. When finished,
Hello?
press the pound key.
No.
Hey, hold on. We're trying to get everything up and running right now. I'm running a little late.
Okay.
Match PIN to your account. Please enter your...
Alright. Apparently I caught a bunch of...
My head! About 20 lines ringing at once.
I'm trying to hang up with everybody that's,
Okay. I'm trying to record this one. My voice is getting a bit choppy, so I don't know how that's recording. Hello and welcome to the Maggot Show. I am the host, Maggot. I don't know if it's recording. I'm trying another recording program, so well, it's got bars coming up on this side. Before earlier, when there was lots of talking, it was all. So I'm not sure if that's going to happen on this when I play it back. The last time I tried it, it was a disaster, and I run it through like 15 different filters. I managed to come up with one file that's like 100 megabytes. So if anybody can record the stream directly, that's probably a better idea than me trying to record it, because it always ends up sort of like me-centric. My voice is really loud and everybody else's voice is really tiny, really rubbish. You gotta hear them. They're like this all the way through. So it's sort of a disaster waiting to happen on that one. Okay, I'll start with an article, yay, on the news, for the 1st September. Obama condemns slaughter, there you go, as Mideast talks open in the US. Obama is obviously a fan of the Maggot Show. You see, he heard me yesterday, so yes, the 4 people slaughtered in Israel is a bloody massacre of 4 people. 4 people. I don't know what that is proportionally out of the world population. US President Barack Obama has condemned the senseless slaughter. Oh yes, he's using SS, okay, yeah, alliterations, language of serpents, of 4 Israeli settlers as new round of Mideast diplomacy opens in Washington. Mr. Obama spoke after talks with Israeli PM Benjamin Netanyahu on the eve of the first direct talks between Israeli and Palestinian leaders in 20 months. He will meet Palestinian leader Mahmoud Abbas later on Wednesday. Mr. Netanyahu said Tuesday's killings near Hebron were committed by people who butcher everything they oppose. BBC Middle East editor Jeremy Bowen says the president has to rescue the talks before they have even started. Like Superman. As well as the violence which has threatened to upstate the process, there is disagreement over construction in the occupied West Bank. Yeah, I'll probably get an private ciphered email from Obama saying, "You mustn't reveal the secret code of the repeating words beginning with S. It's the secret language of the serpents." That's incidentally what I think the language of the serpents is just having as many S's in every sentence as possible in the beginning of each word, especially like SS, like the Nazi SS. The Israelis say that they will not renew a partial freeze on building homes for Jews there when it expires at the end of this month. Palestinians say that without a freeze they will walk away. Walk away, walk away. Our correspondent says. I might have read this bit. As well as the violence which has threatened to upset the process, there is disagreement over construction in the occupied West Bank. Unwavering, I've got this headline. Palestinian security forces have mounted a huge operation in the West Bank to catch the killers of 4 Israeli settlers shot on Tuesday. Dozens of members of the Islamist movement Hamas, which said it carried out the attack, have been arrested. Ooh. I want everybody to be very clear, Mr. Obama said. United States is going to be unwavering in its support of Israel's security, and we are going to push back against these kind of terrorist attacks. I'm practicing my American accent, so it's probably rubbish. And so the message should go out to Hamas and everyone else who is taking credit for these heinous crimes, that this is not going to stop us. So yeah, the absolute atrocity of 4 Israelis being slaughtered, needlessly slaughtered. So obviously, hundreds of Islamists needs to die in retribution. This grim crime against the mighty state of Israel. Okay. Don't think I read this one out yesterday. This is sort of left over from yesterday. Argentina police arrest Lord of Death Killer. It's like one of those like B movies, martial arts movie you see on the top shelf or something. Lord of Death Killer. An Argentine man has been arrested on suspicion of murdering at least 6 people after making a pact with the spiritual figure known as San Lemert, Lord of Death. Police say Marcelo Antelo was captured after a shootout in the capital, Buenos Aires. The 22-year-old had apparently promised to kill 1 person a week in return for protection and prosperity. San Lemert is said to have a large following in the country's prisons and shantytowns. The BBC's Daniel Schweimler in Buenos Aires says the spirit's followers ask for favours, such as to win a fight or protect a harvest. But they also use it to request the death of an enemy. The figure evolved in poor communities in the north of Argentina, where characters from traditional indigenous religions merged with elements from Roman Catholicism, our correspondent adds. Well, yeah, I think that's supposedly the ultimate aim of Catholicism is to merge all the religions. So they're just sort of getting on with it, really. The other day, well, not the other day, but recently the Pope said, he sees no problem with aliens because aliens are our brothers. It's a bit of a Masonic undertow on that phrase. The authorities are charging Mr. Antelo, also known as Marcelito, with 6 murders, but say they are investigating possible links with a number of unsolved killings. The murderer had made a pact with San Lemert, by which he had promised 1 murder each week to obtain protection for him and his family, police sources told AFP news agencies. 5 of his alleged victims have been identified, but a 6th was burnt beyond recognition. Our correspondents say the killings have, until now, attracted little attention in the Argentine media, since the victims were poor, marginalised people living in an area where even the police often dare not venture. Might have read this one. I don't think I did. Israeli academics boycott West Bank settlements. I'll skip it anyway. It's yesterday's. Fair trade hopes for Cadbury's cocoa farmers in Ghana. Ooh, this is an exciting one. Obama begins Middle East talks. Okay. Burger King could be snapped up by private equity firm. Could do that one. Okay, Barack Obama begins talks with Middle East leaders. Benjamin Netanyahu, Mahmoud Abbas, Hosni Mubarak and King Abdullah of Jordan to meet separately with Barack Obama. Barack Obama is launching his initiative to resolve the decades-old Israeli-Palestinian conflict within a year, with a series of bilateral talks with Middle East leaders in Washington today. The Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was the first to arrive at the White House, and the Palestinian leader Mahmoud Abbas, the Egyptian President Hosni Mubarak and King Abdullah of Jordan are expected to meet the President in turn later in the day. Obama will host dinner this evening for the four leaders and Tony Blair, the envoy for the quartet of the US, UN, EU and Russia, before face-to-face discussions between the Israelis and Palestinians beginning at the State Department in Washington tomorrow. Some of the most important players will not be at the table, including the hardline Jewish settler leaders who have vowed not to give up an inch of the land they regard as a God-given right, and Hamas, which is refusing Western demands to renounce violence or recognise Israel before it can be brought into the diplomatic process. Don't get it. They refuse to recognise that Israel exists, or they refuse to accept it into the settlements. I mean, it's like 150 years old or something. Well, no, it's actually not as old as that. The talks are seen as a test, not only, it's maybe about 50 or 60 years old, as a test not only of the sincerity of Israeli and Palestinian claims to want to reach an agreement, but also of Obama's willingness to take the political risks and exert the pressure that some see as essential if a deal is to be done. The US administration has angered some of Israel's supporters by breaking with its predecessors in describing the failure to resolve the conflict as a cause of continued instability in the Middle East and a threat to America's national security. Obama's Middle East envoy, George Mitchell, said today that time was running out for the possibility of a two-state solution and warned that the alternative to an agreement was likely to be more violence. Woo! Woo! That's the intelligent solution. I believe that it is an awareness of these and other realities by the two leaders and their leadership that there is a window of opportunity, a moment in time within which there remains the possibility of achieving the two-state solution, which is so essential to comprehensive peace in the region. It's all a bit mystical, he said. Mystical violence there, Don't worry when your arms and legs get blown off, just worry about the mystical mania of it, the wondrousness of it. Some former officials who have been involved in previous peace negotiations are concerned that Obama has so far failed to distinguish his push for a peace settlement from the failed efforts of the past. People don't think there's an Obama-specific approach, said Daniel Levy, a former advisor to an earlier Israeli Prime Minister and an architect of the Geneva Initiative peace plan. There isn't a way of going about it trying to do this that this administration has made its own and has wrapped its arms around, and its legs too. You're seeing a very similar approach to what we've seen in the past, an approach that didn't deliver. Levy warned that the script for now is still being written more by the Netanyahu government than the Obama administration. Yeah, I see. So Obama, he's failing to lead on this particular issue. The mighty Netanyahu is just way ahead. He's steering the boat. He said the White House would have to be particularly careful not to be seen. Just stay in the background, blackies. don't get in that photo. No, keep away. Just because your country's bigger than us, we're more powerful. Just don't forget it. All right. As Aaron David Miller, a former US negotiator in the conflict, once put it, as acting as Israel's lawyer by exerting more pressure on the Palestinians and the Israelis because it appears Abbas is in the weaker position. The question is, at what stage do you twist the Palestinian arm so much that you're left carrying that arm and very little else? Oh, strong arm words, said Levy. There might be, whether it's Netanyahu or a different collection of forces in Israel, an Israeli yes to getting this done, trying to find its way out. That way, Israeli yes, that Israeli yes won't come out on its own, and we're going to have to perform a C-section in order to get it out. The only surgeon available to perform that C-section is the Obama administration. Mitchell said he recognised that a different approach was needed, and one way was a setting of a 1-year deadline for talks. Really takes that long, you know. You really got to sit and talk to somebody solidly for a year to sort out anything, you know. It's nothing to do with any agenda or anything else in the background. People ask whether a long history of negotiation has been beneficial or harmful. It's actually been both, in some respects, he said. Beneficial in the sense that this has been discussed so often that people have a good sense of what the principal issues are and how they might be resolved. Harmful in the sense that it's created attitudes amongst many individuals that it's a never-ending process. So it's very important to create a sense that this has a definite concluding point. The first item up for discussion will be the agenda. Theoretically, all major issues on the table, including borders, the division of Jerusalem, and measures to guarantee Israel's security. But the Palestinians are already bristling at what they see as Israeli preconditions. As after Netanyahu said that there could be no movement until the Palestinians recognise Israel as a Jewish state. A move that has implications for the question of the return of Palestinian refugees living in neighbouring countries. Abbas will also be pressing Netanyahu for an extension of the partial freeze on Jewish settlement construction that expires later this month, and which is seen as a test of Israeli sincerity. Martin Indyk, the former US ambassador to Israel, said the reduction in Palestinian attacks on Israel and the slowing of settlement construction meant talks might succeed now where they had failed in the past. He said there was public support on both sides for a two-state solution, even if minorities were strongly opposed. In the 17 years since the Oslo Accords were signed, detailed final status negotiations have dealt exhaustively with all the critical issues. If an independent Palestinian state is to be established, the zone of agreement is clear and the necessary trade-offs are already known. Indeed, quote in the New York Times. In short, the negotiating environment is better suited to peacemaking today than it has been at any point in the last decade. The prospects for peace depend now on the willpower of the leaders. Yes, it's a battle of willpower. Well, I couldn't read the article on Burger King. Have we got anybody else on this call? Could I hear Ziggy in the background? No. Yes. Okay, everybody's busy. Okay, I've got some Tony Blair stuff. I'll have to check the chat room as well. Finally, Tony Blair reveals his side of the feud with Gordon Brown. So, Tony Blair is the ex-Prime Minister of UK or England, or whatever it's called. And Gordon Brown's the current one. Tony Blair has described Gordon Brown as maddening and difficult when he was his Chancellor, but has defended his decision not to sack him or try to stop him becoming Prime Minister. In his memoirs, A Journey, to be published today, the former Prime Minister finally breaks his silence on the tension between him and Mr Brown, which destabilised his 13 years as Labour leader. In extracts from the book, Mr Blair accuses his successor of abandoning New Labour, arguing that it could have won this year's election if he had stuck with it. He writes, "So was he difficult, at times maddening, yes, but he was also strong, capable and brilliant, and those were qualities for which I never lost respect." Somebody called Andy Smith says Blair's book reads less like a memoir, more like a long memo to his staff. On Iraq, he admits that many of his supporters see the war as the stain on an otherwise impressive record. But he says he cannot satisfy their desire for him to admit, there could be an end of the sentence there, to admit that it was a mistake made in good faith. Friends opposed to the war think I'm being obstinate. Others, less friendly, think I'm being delusional, he admits. Mr Blair concedes that the aftermath of the war was a nightmare. and that Britain and the United States did not anticipate the role played by Al-Qaeda and Iran in post-war Iraq, but he insists that leaving Saddam Hussein in power was a bigger risk to our security than removing him. He explains why he did not say he had any regrets when he was asked if he had any by the Chilcot inquiry in January. He describes it as a headline question. If he had said yes, the outcome would have been Blair apologises for war, and at last he says sorry. I saw him in an interview earlier today, and he was just, it was really weird, because he's got to actually go up on TV and actually worry about weapons of mass destruction and worry about, but if we did do this, then you would have suicide bombers going off all over the place, and it'd be terrible, and he's actually, he's having to toe the line and stuff, and it's like, you don't have your job anymore, you can just bullshit, come clean on bullshit, just whatever, you could just lie. I mean, you could just say, I don't care, so what, I forgot about it, just give me my money. Addressing his critics head on, he writes, do they really suppose I don't care, don't feel, don't regret with every fibre of my being the loss of those who died? Yeah, that's what it was like in the interview. He's really, really caring, really caring. He insists that he thinks about the victims of the war in Iraq and Afghanistan every day of his life. He probably does as well. He says he cannot, by any expression of regret, bring to life those who died. Because, if you're playing your part, then you do have to go through all the emotional range of playing that part, because it's it's what acting's all about. So I'm not so sure about people who are saying, oh, there's this evil side to him that doesn't care at all. I think he all cares, but he's being manipulated at the same time. It's just he's a small vassal for containing this bigger thing. It'd be difficult to do really two-faced act all day every day, because you're bound to lose it at one point or other if you got drunk or whatever, and he starts chatting to his mates or whatever, and he's like, oh, I don't give a fuck, it only take one slip like that, and you'd be if you could get caught on camera and stuff, it would just be a nightmare. I can't say sorry in words. I can only hope to redeem something from the tragedy of life in the actions of a life. My life just continues still. I mean, you might just not have many genuine emotions, and you might just learn it all, but until now, the former Prime Minister, alright. Yeah. It's kept it, yeah. Oh no, I know. Sherry, oh yeah. Yeah, the Sherry Blair Witch Code. Really? So he's really poor. Yeah. But that's what I mean. They could genuinely believe what they say. That's what most people don't get. They think they're playing this amazingly intelligent game where they pretend to care and they pretend to do this and they pretend to, but there's so much they got to memorize. They're doing this act 24 hours a day, and so for them it's like if you hypnotize somebody into thinking they're a pig or something, then they genuinely think they're a pig, and they could just be on this hypnosis all their life. The hypnosis doesn't work. It wouldn't work on stage. So yeah, it's got to be they're on such hypnosis that they do genuinely believe they're good people, and they do really care, and they do get all sort of medical symptoms, whatever, heart palpitations and stuff. They're worried about the outcome of the war and all this sort of thing, 1984 style. When they got Winston, who was genuinely concerned about the state of the war between Eurasia and whatever it was. Then they weren't happy until he was like that. They didn't let him go until he was genuinely concerned about it, even though before he knew it was a crock of shit. Okay, yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah, it'll probably sell loads, and loads of people just really want to believe it. And he is like the Reverend Tony Blair as well, so he does know how to do a convincing story. Yeah. I got this one from rents.com, but I don't know how good it is. The Nazification of the United States, Death of the First Amendment by Paul Craig Roberts, 29th of August 2010. Chuck Norris is no pinko liberal commie, and Human Events is a very conservative publication. The two have come together to produce one of the most important articles of our time: Obama's US assassination program. It seems only yesterday that Americans, or those interested in their civil liberties, were shocked that the Bush regime so flagrantly violated the FISA law against spying on American citizens without a warrant. A federal judge serving on the FISA court even resigned in protest to the illegality of the spying. Nothing was done about it. National security placed the president and executive branch above the law of the land. Civil libertarians worried that the US government was freeing its power from the constraints of law, but no one else seemed to care. Encouraged by its success in breaking the law, the executive branch early this year announced that the Obama regime has given itself the right to murder Americans abroad if such Americans are considered a threat. Threat was not defined, and thus a death sentence would be issued by a subjective decision of an unaccountable official. There was hardly a peep out of the public or the media. Americans in the media were content for the government to summarily execute traitors and turncoats, and who better to identify traitors and turncoats than the government with all its spy programs? The problem with this sort of thing is that once it starts, it doesn't stop. Like Pringles. As Norris reports, citing... So, I don't know if it is the Chuck Norris of the things. I just thought he was like mentioning Chuck Norris and then just kind of throwing him away in a few sentences. Seems as though he's actually like some sort of like something. He's going to mention him again, and maybe he's just like using him as an analogy. An analogy, yeah, that's it. Reports citing Obama regime security officials and next stages to criminalise dissent and criticism of the government. The May 2010 National Security Strategy states, "We are now moving beyond traditional distinctions between homeland and national security. This includes a determination to prevent terrorist attacks against the American people by fully coordinating the actions that we take abroad with the actions and precautions that we take at home." Most Americans will respond that the indispensable US government would never confuse an American exercising First Amendment rights with a terrorist or an enemy of the state. But in fact, governments always have. Even one of our founding fathers, John Adams, the Federalist Party, had their Alien and Sedition Acts, which targeted the Republican press. Few with power can brook opposition or criticism, especially when it is a simple matter for those with power to sweep away constraints upon their power in the name of national security. Deputy National Security Advisor John Brennan recently explained that more steps have been taken because of the growing number of Americans who have been captivated by extremist ideology or causes. Notice that this phrasing goes beyond concern with Muslim terrorists. In pursuit of hegemony over both the world and its own subjects, the US government is shutting down the First Amendment and turning criticism of the government into an act of domestic extremism. A capital crime punishable by execution, just as it was in Hitler's Germany and Stalin's Russia. Initially, German courts resisted Hitler's illegal acts. Hitler got around the courts by creating a parallel court system, like the Bush regime did with its military tribunals. It won't be long before a decision of the US Supreme Court will not mean anything. Any decision that goes against the regime will simply be ignored. This is already happening in Canada and American Puppet State. Writing for the Future of Freedom Foundation, Andy Worthington documents the lawlessness of the US trial of Canadian Omar Khadr. In January of this year, the Supreme Court of Canada ruled that the interrogation of Khadr constituted state conduct that violates the principles of fundamental justice and offends the most basic Canadian standards about the treatment of detained youth suspects. According to the Toronto Star, the court instructed the government to shape a response that reconciled its foreign policy imperatives with its constitutional obligations to Khadr. But the puppet Prime Minister of Canada, Stephen Harper, ignored the court and permitted the... He decided he's gone above the law, sort of like Michael Knight in Knight Rider and all that, and permitted the US government to proceed with its lawless abuse of a Canadian citizen. September 11. Yeah, the puppet Prime Minister.
I'm just reading a story here, so what was it, breaking news at 3 o'clock?
Okay.
An Asian man is carrying a handgun, and who police believe may have explosive strapped on his body in the Discovery Channel in Washington. Police say they could not immediately confirm reports Discovery employees that the man had taken a hostage in the lobby of the building in Silver Spring, Maryland.
Weird.
Discovery employees that police sealed off the surrounding buildings. It's going on at this moment in time, so the SWAT team is there, and well, he's Asian.
Yeah, yeah. So that's the is that the Discovery Channel on TV you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's actually in the building now.
So of all the channels that you could like terrorize and try and destroy, you like destroy like one of the few good ones, you know. I don't know. I've heard most about it, but the Discovery Channel is supposed to be one of the few good things about the whole network.
Yeah, you know, he's probably going to the Animal Planet.
Yeah. And kill the animals. They get into Allah's beard. If you're gonna, yeah, why not Fox News or something like that, you know? Something intelligent. It's got to act the most dumb thing that nobody's going to sympathise with you, because Allah hates discoveries, He hates wisdom. They do come out with crap like that though, but they're normally in private.
Well, it's just in time for 9/11, eh? Somebody is running around with explosives like...
Well, yeah, 10 more days. Yeah. Yee. Yeah. Okay, I'm just loading some stuff in the background. The Ministry of Defence has been criticised over safety failings in fatal bomb tests, and it's in Telegraph. It's a UK report thing. An inquest jury ruled that the joint US-UK trials to replicate the explosives used by terrorists were badly planned and run. Jurors decided that Terry Jupp, 46, should have been wearing protective clothing rather than just a paper suit and gloves when he was asked to mix together a 10-kilo charge of 3 chemicals. Okay, yes, and obviously a genius. They said that a small-scale test should have been carried out in advance. Yeah, a paper suit will obviously protect you from everything, you know, because it's paper. You know, paper and scissors, you know. But paper wraps around rock, and the explosives are like a rock. And they said that a small-scale test should have been carried out in advance. Risk assessment was not appropriate, and a communication appeared inadequate between those present at the firing range on Foulness Island in Essex. Foulness Island. Yeah, so foul play is suspected. No doubt. No, they'll bring that up at some point. But the jury also said that they thought Mr. Jupp had been aware of the nature of the substances, which ignited in a fireball and left him with 80% burns. He died in hospital 6 days later after contracting blood poisoning and the superbug MRSA. Yeah, best place for contracting superbugs is in hospital. And other illnesses, really. Best place to get them. Following the narrative verdict on Wednesday, Mr. Jupp's widow, Pat, said she was very pleased with the outcome. Oh, okay, yeah. With the death. I don't get it. Which came after an 8-year wait, while criminal charges were investigated. The Ministry of Defence have lost a highly experienced, loyal, dedicated scientist. Well, he wasn't that experienced, was he? If you think you can walk around in a paper suit and work with explosives, I mean, beggar's belief, so to speak. Oh yeah, he died. 80% burns and died in hospital 6 days later. Yeah, he was asked. It says earlier, jurors decided that Terry Jupp, 46, should have been wearing protective clothing rather than just a paper suit and gloves when he was asked to mix together a 10-kilo charge of 3 chemicals. It's like, what the hell? Why are you wearing a paper suit? What's that going to protect you from? Paper cut? I don't know. It's rubbish. Yeah. Well, yeah, I know. And then his wife afterwards says the Ministry of Defence have lost a highly experienced, loyal, dedicated scientist. Well, you can't be that experienced to think that wearing a paper suit would, after exploding 10 kilos of high explosives, why would you want to wear a paper suit in the first place? Just taking the mickey, aren't you? He's either a moron or he was assassinated. Sort of like, you do that, just do it because we said so, sort of thing. Bumped off. I feel very proud in the knowledge that he helped to save thousands of lives during the research work that he carried out, she said. Frances Saunders. Yeah, it's lovely money. Frances Saunders, the chief executive of the Defence Science and Technology Laboratory, the MOD's research arm where Mr. Jupp worked, said she was sorry his relatives had to wait so long to hear why he died on August 20th, 2002. They always take ages to do anything in the Ministry of Defence. Terry Jupp was carrying out work of national importance, helping to protect the UK. I mean, they probably spend all day reviewing all the stuff they'd never released details on, and then, the rest of the year trying to figure out why they don't do it. Its armed forces and its people, and I want to acknowledge publicly his contribution to this vital research. Some of the work that DSTL does is, by its very nature, extremely hazardous. But we aim to take every step we can to control and minimise the risks. Clearly, in this case, the measures in place at the time did not safeguard Mr. Jupp. We take the health and safety of our employees and the public very seriously, and since Mr. Jupp's tragic death, we have done everything we can to prevent such incidents happening again. Yeah, I mean, because he would at least have the names of the chemicals written on the chemicals he was mixing, so you can't be that experienced. It was like, plus
What's his name? Kelly?
Oh, Dr. Richard Kelly.
Yeah. We're supposed to kill themselves.
Yeah. No. Ooh. Apparently Lord Krishna was born today. Lord Krishna was born today. It's just a really small article. I think it is. Janmashtami, blue-painted Hindu children dress up to celebrate the birth of Lord Krishna. A pupil dressed up as Lord Krishna awaits his turn in a fancy dress competition to celebrate the birth of Lord Krishna at a school in Mumbai. That's it, that's the whole article.
Okay, that changed my life then.
Yeah, I know, it was really useful. It's like, woo!
Okay. I'm just trying to, I came across a website a long time ago, where they all put all the dead scientists.
Yeah.
It's quite interesting to read how many scientists are actually in other mysteriously dead.
Yeah. One of the most dangerous jobs you can get is a microbiologist.
They're dead all mysteriously. Fast all of a sudden.
Yeah.
There was one, even if the family said that they weren't doing things.
Yeah.
Okay, Maggot, carry on.
Okay. Well, I'm just browsing. It's more Obama, say stuff. Wheat pushes world food prices up. Okay. Okay. Update on the chili saga. There's loads of images of chilies on the internet as well. I don't know what that is, subliminal advertising or something. NASA experts head to Chile mine to help miners. Experts from the US Space Agency NASA are travelling to a copper mine in Chile where 33 miners have been trapped underground for almost a month. Wow, how time flies. I thought it was 6 days ago, about 3 days ago. 9 going to 30 all of a sudden, whatever. The specialists will advise the Chilean government, just amazing security they got on this system, It's completely leak-proof. There's not a single fault in their story writing at all. I didn't realise it was almost... It probably is true, but, they haven't been, keeping it regular on how long they've actually been down there for, how many days and hours and all that sort of stuff. I mean, they don't even set up a charity thing You know, you'd think they'd have some sort of like cruddy charity that you can donate to, you know, like, not free the Chilean miners, but something for them to live off when they come out, even though they're just like going to be starved or something. Anyhow, yeah, it's all a bit, you know, suspicious. It's, you know, it's a little bit strange. Experts from the US Space Agency NASA are travelling to a copper mine in Chile where 33 miners have been trapped underground for almost a month. The specialists will advise the Chilean government on how to keep the miners in good spirits under extreme conditions. Oh, they got southern spirits now. NASA's Deputy Chief Medical Officer, Michael Duncan, has already told Chilean officials to be frank with the miners about how long their rescue will take. 20 years! Just shout down that tube, and then just pour loads of vodka. Drink the vodka, drink the wine, soon you feel sleepy. They'll be here with flamethrowers in a minute. White alert. So on and so forth. Yeah, sleep forever. Ding, 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 ding. Yeah, I know. Well, it's 33 naked male miners all down in like the underground. Because I think they're naked. They're always like topless anyway in all the footage. And they're underground. They've probably got no toilet rolls or anything, you know. And they like had last report was like they had 20 seconds to talk to their relatives. I mean, 20 seconds. Why bother? You know, it's like one. You know, it's the only thing you have to do all day as well. I think they're all worried about the batteries running out or something. They'll just be like, No, it's just like a chamber. It must be like an entrance to the deeper mines or something. Like, one of those elevator sort of chambers. You know, you take the elevator down. It'd be reeking. Yeah, you could, you might even pass out from the gas, I suppose, yeah. I'm assuming they've got, like, outlets and stuff for it, and then maybe the gas is just going down. Yeah, it's just sort of just bizarre and ridiculous. The miners have been told it could take a long time to get them out of the San Jose mine in Copiapo, but have not been given dates. On Tuesday, the company that owns the mine asked for forgiveness from the miners' relatives, many of whom have accused it of ignoring safety guidelines. The firm denies the accusations, but describes the unfolding drama at the San Jose mine as a terrible situation. The NASA team is made up of a doctor, a nutritionist, an engineer, and a psychologist, and a wizard. Has considerable experience of space missions, and is used to helping astronauts cope with extreme conditions and months of solitude. Oh, and a bard. Mr. Duncan, who is leading the NASA team in Chile, said his group had been asked to provide help in nutrition and behavioural health. Speaking at a news conference in Santiago before travelling to the mine, he said his team had seen 2 videos the miners made of themselves. Oh no, don't share them. And that a priority was increasing the miners' calorific intake, getting them on a regular sleep schedule, and ensuring they remain optimistic. Yes, they're all bumming each other, so they feel horrible. These How do they what? Make a video? I know. They obviously got mobile phones down there. I mean, it could be like they took an elevator down to like the sort of like pit entrance thing, and they got like a security camera. They're supposedly being watched by the security camera on there, so they're making videos just being standing in front of the camera and dancing around. Yeah. And ensuring they remain optimistic. These miners showed us incredible strength in surviving as long as they did without any contact with the surface, he said. What we want to try to avoid is any kind of situation of hopelessness. Head doctor Jorge Diaz-Anay said the miners no longer had any nutritional deficiencies. Hurrah! How did that happen? We have finished the process of nutritional stabilizing and recuperation. And from tomorrow morning we begin regular nutritional maintenance, he said on Tuesday. The miners stuck 700 metres below ground since 5th of August. That's 15 days. Have been eating high-protein drinks and dietary supplements. So yeah, they were just like playing around for 15 days, now they're being stuck for 15 days, so that'll teach them. New video footage of the men was shown on Chilean state television on Tuesday, in which they appeared healthier and more cheerful than in previous videos. They're on steroids. While the rescuers attempt to drill down to the men, there is also concern for their colleagues up above who escaped the rock collapse, but who have not been able to work for nearly a month. The San Esteban mining firm paid their wages until the end of August, but it is rumoured to be on the verge of bankruptcy. The government says it is helping the miners find new jobs. Last week, a Chilean judge ordered the freezing of $1.8 billion, that's 1.2 billion pounds, in assets owned by San Esteban to cater for compensation claims by the miners' families. Oh, it's a financial disaster.
I just found this out, right? Since 1994,
Yeah.
right? About scientists,
Yeah.
since 1994, 99 scientists died.
Really?
Yeah, and Franco Serrano, 62, died on the 12th of July. Was found dead in a lab in Phoenix Center on Monday morning. The cause of death is not yet known. But they were either killed, shot,
Yeah.
died in a car crash, or unknown deaths. But 99 scientists, well-known scientists, have died since 1994. Now that says something.
Yeah. I mean, it's like you're just waiting for the number 100 then, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because somebody died in 46 years old, died on April the 6th,
Mm.
Morrison joined the NSU, and then somebody died on
Huh.
13th of... you're the number guy.
Yes.
It's 13, and 6, and 26, 6, 7, 8, 6. So it's, I don't know.
Not that is, yeah.
One died
I think they're aiming for 100.
February.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, lucky 13, isn't it? Yeah.
And everybody died on the 13th.
Yeah. Really? Yeah. That's apparently the Knights of Malta. Because I think it's the 13th because they are all is it the Knights of Malta or is it the I do yeah, it's a Knights of something or other, and they all they worship a pillar in inverted commas. The ones who used to spit on Jesus on the cross. Yeah, those knights. Yeah, they're all slaughtered anyway by the Vatican on the 13th of some month, and that's ever since then it's become unlucky.
Everybody who died in 2010,
Yeah.
the scientist is now 9, right?
Mhm.
Died on the 13th.
Yeah, yeah.
That's, come on now.
Yeah. It says Teutonic Knights, possibly. Yeah. Oh, that's it. The Knights Templar. Knights Templar. Yeah. Okay. I'll find the actual thing. Loads of repetitions of the number 13. Well, whatever. You know, it's He was a Knights Templar that wiped out on that day. Okay, I've got 18 killed, 150 injured in Lahore suicide attacks. Suicide bombers blew themselves up during a Shiite procession in the Pakistani city of Lahore, killing at least 18 people and injuring more than 150 according to local officials. The city has been the scene of frequent sectarian violence as extremist Sunnis target members of the Shia minority in attacks often claimed by the Pakistan Taliban as part of their campaign to de-establish the government. I suppose Taliban's alright. City officials said the bombs exploded at 3 separate sites as 35,000 Shiites marched through the streets. 35,000. The blasts were timed to coincide with the moment when Muslims were breaking their Ramadan fast. Ramadan. The explosions turned the crowd into an angry mob who set fire to a police station and vehicles as they blamed security officials for failing to protect them. This was published 5:48 BST, which is British Standard Time. It's another way of saying GMT, Greenwich Mean Time. So about 5 hours. No, about 3 hours ago. 3 hours and 4 minutes or something. Security could have been much better at the end of the procession to avoid such untoward incidents, he said. The CM, Khusro Pervez. Yes, Khusro Pervez. Yes, Pervs. The top administrative official in the city, who blamed lax security for the attacks. The procession was being held to mark the death in the 7th century, this is rural wisdom for you, of the first Shia Imam, Ali bin Abi Talib. See, I hope you like celebrated it or something, or didn't celebrate it. You know, hope you remembered it. Yeah. Held it in your heart, sort of thing. Yes. Tali Abi bin Ali. Yeah. Yusuf Raza Gilani, the Prime Minister, condemned the attack and said the attackers would not escape justice. The renewed violence follows a lull in militant attacks. Yeah. Millions of Pakistanis are still struggling for food and water more than a month after some heavy monsoon rains devastated the country. Yeah, it's sort of a little bit more unusual for them to do it during a festival, but they don't do it when the festival's active. They do it when there's a little break. It's strange because they're all like Muslims and stuff. You'd think, you know, from an attack perspective, you know, if these idiots are all like on their knees prostrate before Allah or whatever, then that would be the best time to bomb the mosque and so on, because they have these massive festivals. They have one that's like held once a year or something. There's like 2 million of them. I think they all congregate around Mecca, and you know, if you're serious, you could just like boop, you know, the whole lot of them. But you know, they go on about like human rights or whatever, and that sort of rubbish. You know, suddenly they're worried about it, and the other people who would be doing that are also Muslims as well, so they have to respect their sort of like the same festival and religion. So it's really stupid in a way. It's really sort of strange. I always thought it was strange growing up, you know, because like these people all seem so serious with their beards and, you know, shouting voices and stuff, you know, about how they should like kill the infidel and kill these Muslims and kill these other Muslims or whatever. You know, it all seems to be wanting to kill each other, just desperate to kill each other. And it'd never take like the most obvious military tactics, you know, when you've got like a group of people who are just like basically unarmed, you know, totally defenseless, and all gathered in one place. You know, and your objective is to wipe out as many of them as possible. You know, the obvious thing to do is just to bomb it, but they never do. So it's strange. It's two-faced. You know, it's like Allah was saying 2 different things or something. It was like Allah says, "Do not attack." Allah says, "Attack now." They're like traffic lights or something. You know, don't cross. It's obviously the wisdom of the wise, you know, the wisdom of the Islamics. Yeah, it says it Ramadan Ding Dong. Yeah, it's been going on and off. It's been going on and off for at least a week. Maybe 2. I don't know. Yeah. I think it seems to change. The duration seems to change every year. So I think the rabbis, whatever the Muslim ones equivalent are, the priests or whatever, they just sort of determine it. And it's really, you know, it doesn't really stand up to much analysis. It's just sort of like rubbish. But yeah, they all follow it. The Olympics.
Right, okay then, and the Olympics actually start on Ramadan Day.
Do they?
Yeah. Just to note on the start of Ramadan.
Yeah.
Especially if they do not what they're going to do. Because obviously some people coming over from different countries.
Yeah. Well, I've got the Wikipedia entry for Ramadan. Ramadan, blah 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 blah, different pronunciations and stuff, is the 9th month of the Islamic calendar. It is the Islamic month of fasting. There you go. So it's a whole month of fasting, in which participating Muslims refrain from eating, drinking and sexual relations from dawn until sunset. Fasting is intended to teach Muslims about patience, humility and spirituality. It is a time for Muslims to fast for the sake of God, and to offer more prayer than usual. During Ramadan, Muslims ask forgiveness for past sins, pray for guidance and help in refraining from everyday evils, and try to purify themselves through self-restraint and good deeds. As compared to the solar calendar, the dates of Ramadan vary, moving backwards about 11 days each year. Oh, there you go. That's what I thought. Yeah, it's not the same every year, depending on the moon. But yeah, I mean, the person I asked obviously didn't know that much about Ramadan. They obviously just assumed that it was down to the the priest. But they were kind of right. It is down to the priest, because the priest determines, you know, how far back to move the festival, depending on the moon, how much of the moon is showing or something. Yeah, but it's generally it moves back about 11 days every year. Muslims believe Ramadan to be an auspicious month for the revelations of God to humankind. Well, you know, by God they mean Allah, the thing. God, it says Arabic translates to Allah, so there you go, that's like the simple version. Being a month in which the first verse is, I think we got Tony Blair. I started talking about God, so Tony Blair is like, God, of the Quran revealed to the Islamic prophet Maggot. No, Muhammad. Muhammad. Yeah, they can't do anything. They can't do anything because it's like they got to ask forgiveness of past sins, so I can insult them now. It's the month of insulting Muslims. I was wondering how I got away with it.
No, there's something in Canada. Take a Muslim take out a Muslim day.
Alright.
And I'll take them out from here.
And it's in the middle of Ramadan. Yeah, imagine. Yeah. They've obviously got to have, like, you know, they obviously got to have a bad diet if they need to actually fast as part of their religion, but, you know, whatever. Okay. Are they? Really? Woo! I think we're going to the end of the show.
So